Have you ever looked at certain women and wondered, how on earth does she have men utterly mesmerized, while so many others remain invisible in a crowded room? Why do some men become obsessed, almost haunted by the memory of a woman, while with others they barely remember her name? I'll tell you something. It's not just about beauty. It's not about youth, nor about perfectly scripted lines, nor about wearing a sexy dress. It's about tapping into a man's unconscious mind. The secret corridors of his psyche he doesn't even know exist. Few people in history understood those secret corridors better than Carl Jung. Jung discovered powerful triggers hidden deep in every man's unconscious. Triggers that, when activated by a woman, can spark a desire so intense, so consuming, that he feels he's found something sacred, irreplaceable, even life-changing. These secrets were considered far too dangerous to be shared openly for decades. Some believed they would give women an almost unfair power over men. But today, I'm going to reveal them to you. All 6. Imagine being the woman who doesn't need games, tricks, or manipulation because you're speaking directly to the deepest part of a man's soul. If you're ready to discover the forbidden knowledge that even Jung believed was too powerful for the average person to handle, keep watching. Because the next few minutes could transform everything you thought you knew about men, attraction, and desire itself. Let me start by telling you something most people get terribly wrong. Physical attraction might open the door, but it's what happens in the depths of a man's unconscious that determines whether he feels an unstoppable desire for you or whether he loses interest and drifts away. Carl Jung, one of the greatest minds in psychology, spent his entire life studying these depths. He believed that inside every human being are hidden symbols, archetypes, and emotional blueprints that secretly govern who we're drawn to, who we desire, and why some connections feel almost mystical, while others fade into nothing. This goes far beyond sexy lingerie, witty conversation, or how you look in a little black dress. In fact, if you've ever tried all the usual tricks and still felt invisible to the men you wanted, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because true attraction isn't logical, it's psychological. Every man carries inside him certain powerful unconscious patterns that dictate what and who he craves. And when a woman knows how to awaken those specific patterns, it's like flipping a hidden switch in his mind. Suddenly, he sees her not merely as attractive, but as magnetic, irreplaceable, the embodiment of something he's been longing for all his life, even if he can't explain why. This is exactly what one of my clients, Sarah, she's 48 years old, discovered after 5 years of believing she'd never attract a passionate relationship again. She'd gone through a painful divorce and felt utterly invisible to men her age. But after learning just 2 of the secrets I'm about to share with you, she found herself pursued by a man who said he felt completely seen by her and couldn't imagine his life without her. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 6 secrets that ignite a man's deepest sexual desire. These aren't cheap seduction tricks. They're rooted in Carl Jung's profound understanding of human nature, and they're designed to help you connect with a man on a level that transcends the physical. Are you ready to learn what Jung discovered? Knowledge so powerful that even he feared it could be misused? Then let's begin with secret number 1. The connection with a man's shadow. Carl Jung taught that every human being carries a hidden side, a collection of thoughts, desires, fears, and impulses we've been taught to hide from the world. He called it the shadow. Most men have been trained since childhood to bury this shadow, to act strong, confident, unshakable, even when they're struggling inside. They're taught that vulnerability is weakness, and that fear or doubt makes them less of a man. But here's the secret Jung uncovered. A man's sexual desire isn't just about lust, it's also about freedom. The freedom to finally drop the mask. When you become a safe mirror for a man's shadow, you ignite a level of desire in him that borders on the mystical. It's not about turning him into a sobbing mess. It's about creating a sacred space where he feels he can reveal his raw, unfiltered self and still be wanted. Imagine sitting across from him, listening not just to his words, but to the silent emotions beneath them. Imagine noticing the flicker of pain in his eyes when he talks about his work, or the tension in his jaw when he mentions his past. Instead of recoiling, you stay present, calm, non-judgmental. This presence is magnetic, because suddenly he's not just with a woman, he's with someone who sees him. Laura, one of my clients, is 51. She'd been dating a man who always seemed distant, like there was a wall between them. One night, he confessed something deeply personal about feeling like a failure in his career. Instead of trying to fix it, she simply placed her hand over his and said, "Thank you for trusting me with that." Something shifted instantly. He later told her, "I've never felt so close to anyone. You make me feel safe to be who I really am." And yes, their physical connection became electric after that moment. Because when you connect with a man's shadow, you're no longer just a woman he's attracted to. You become his sanctuary. And there's nothing more intoxicating or sexually compelling for a man than a woman who knows how to hold space for his entire being, even the parts he's terrified to reveal. This, my friend, is one of the deepest keys to awakening a man's desire, and it's just the beginning. Now let's move to secret number 2, the dance with the anima. If the shadow represents the darkness a man hides, the anima represents the light he's secretly searching for. Jung discovered that every man carries inside him an inner image of the feminine. It's not simply about physical beauty, it's a mysterious blend of qualities: warmth, mystery, intuition, freedom, nurturing, sensuality, strength. This internal feminine ideal is called the anima. A man's anima shapes who he's drawn to. It determines why one man craves a gentle, nurturing woman, while another is magnetized by a fierce, independent spirit. And most men don't even know this blueprint exists inside them. Here's the secret Jung uncovered. When a woman naturally embodies aspects of a man's anima, when she reflects the feminine energy he's unconsciously yearning for, his attraction becomes unstoppable. But let me be crystal clear. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about becoming aware of your own feminine qualities and allowing them to shine in his presence. Let's say you're naturally intuitive and mysterious. Notice how he responds when you share a quiet, knowing glance, or speak softly about things that can't be fully explained. Or perhaps you're playful and spirited. See how his eyes light up when you bring laughter into the room, teasing him lightly, showing your spontaneous side. I'll give you a real story. My client Rachel, 53, was dating a man who seemed distant and analytical. She kept trying to connect through logical discussions, facts, and debates. But nothing was sparking. When we talked, I helped her realize that her natural strength was her calm, soulful presence, her intuitive side. So instead of trying to match his logic, she began to lean into her quiet wisdom. She'd pause more, speak softly, share how certain things felt right rather than why they made logical sense. He became captivated. One night he told her, "I feel like I'm with someone who understands parts of me I can't even explain." Their relationship and their physical connection blossomed in ways she'd never experienced. When you dance with a man's anima, you're no longer just a partner. You become the living embodiment of something he's been unconsciously seeking his entire life. And that is a desire no man can easily walk away from. But as powerful as this is, there's another secret even more electrifying. It's called the alchemy of contrast, and that's what we're going to explore next. There's a reason why the most unforgettable women often seem wrapped in an air of mystery. It's because the male psyche is irresistibly drawn to contrast. Jung discovered that the human mind craves what he called the union of opposites, and nowhere is this more true than in male desire. A man doesn't fall deeply in lust or love with a woman who's one-dimensional. He becomes enchanted with a woman who is a living paradox, who can be soft and fierce, grounded and spontaneous, sensual and soulful. This is the alchemy of contrast. Imagine being the woman who can melt into his arms with pure tenderness one moment, then challenge him with fiery confidence the next. Picture yourself being nurturing and deeply compassionate, yet also playful and wildly alive. The moment he realizes you contain these multitudes, you stop being predictable. You become an unfolding mystery, and that mystery is a potent fuel for his desire. But let me be clear, this isn't about faking moods or putting on a performance. It's about giving yourself permission to express every genuine facet of who you are, without apology. One of my clients, Emily, 42, came to me exhausted. She'd been married for 15 years, and things had grown stale. Her husband barely noticed her anymore. She'd fallen into the role of the practical, organized wife, always in control, always together. When I spoke with Emily, I asked her, "When was the last time you let yourself be sensual, or wild, or spontaneous?" She realized it had been years. So she began to reconnect with the parts of herself she'd buried. She wore a bright red dress one evening, something she hadn't done in over a decade. She surprised her husband with playful teasing, spontaneous kisses, and a softness he'd almost forgotten she possessed. Within weeks, the man who'd seemed checked out was looking at her like he'd just discovered a new woman. Their intimacy became charged again, as if they were rediscovering each other for the first time. That's the power of contrast. When you reveal different sides of yourself, you keep a man fascinated, always wondering who you'll be in the next moment. And that tension between comfort and surprise is one of the most potent aphrodisiacs a man can ever experience. But as electric as this secret is, there's another that speaks even deeper to a man's soul. It's called resonance with the inner hero, and it's one of Jung's most powerful insights of all. Every man, no matter how mild-mannered he seems, carries a powerful force inside him, the archetype of the hero. Jung discovered that the hero isn't just a mythical figure from ancient stories. It's an archetype that lives within every man's psyche, pushing him to overcome obstacles, protect what he loves, and seek meaning beyond himself. But here's what most women don't realize. When you can see and honor the hero within a man, you unlock a part of his soul that makes him feel alive, purposeful, and deeply connected to you. But this isn't about praising him endlessly or faking admiration. A man knows the difference between shallow flattery and genuine recognition. It's about noticing his courage when he stands up for someone at work. It's about seeing the determination in his eyes when he's chasing a goal. It's about appreciating his integrity, his loyalty, his silent sacrifices, even when he doesn't talk about them. When a woman reflects a man's heroic qualities back to him, it makes him feel not only admired, but deeply seen. And in that space, sexual desire blooms because he feels he's not just a man to you. He's your hero. I'll share a story. Michelle, a client of mine, is 58. She'd been with her partner for over 20 years, but lately they were stuck in a loop of criticism and emotional distance. Instead of focusing on his faults, I encouraged her to start looking for the ways he expressed his inner hero. She noticed how he quietly took care of financial challenges, how he checked in on his aging parents, how he worked tirelessly to support their family through difficult times. One evening, she told him, "I see how much you carry on your shoulders, and I admire how strong and committed you are." He was stunned. A week later, he told her, "You make me feel like the man I've always wanted to be." And something miraculous happened. Their physical connection reignited. His affection, his attention, even his sexual energy returned with a new intensity. This is why Jung warned that this secret is powerful, because once a man feels his inner hero recognized, he forms a bond that transcends mere attraction. It becomes a soulful connection, one he'll fight to protect. And yet there's another secret even more transcendent. Because the deepest parts of male sexuality are not merely physical, they're spiritual. And that's what we'll explore next, the portal to the transcendent. Most people think male sexuality is purely physical, driven by biology, by lust, by the primal urge to conquer. But Carl Jung discovered something far more profound. In its deepest essence, male sexuality is also a quest for transcendence. Jung wrote about the union of opposites, how sexual connection can become a bridge between the physical and the divine. For a man, the most unforgettable sexual experiences are not simply about orgasm. They're moments when he feels he's touched something sacred, moments when time seems to stop, and he's transported into a realm beyond ordinary life. Here's the secret Jung uncovered. When a woman embodies her own sacred feminine energy, she becomes a portal to the transcendent. She becomes the doorway through which a man experiences the divine. But this has nothing to do with performance or sexual tricks. It's about your own relationship with your sensuality and your willingness to approach intimacy as a sacred act, rather than a chore or a strategy. Imagine letting go of any pressure to perform. Instead, you sink into your own body, breathing deeply, allowing every sensation to wash through you without shame. You move with the rhythm of your own desire, letting your voice, your eyes, your touch become pure expressions of your feminine energy. When you're connected to your sensual essence, a man feels it. Your presence becomes electric. Your touch feels like a prayer. Your eyes become gateways into something far bigger than either of you. I'll share a story. My client Jennifer, 49, had been stuck in a series of passionless relationships. She told me, "I felt like a prop, like I was going through the motions." I guided her into reconnecting with her own sacred femininity. She started viewing her body not as an object to be judged, but as a temple of energy, wisdom, and pleasure. A few months later, she met a man who told her, after an intimate night together, "I've never felt so close to someone. It was like a spiritual awakening." This is why certain sexual memories linger in a man's soul for decades. Because he wasn't just with a woman, he glimpsed something eternal through her. When you become a portal to the transcendent, you offer a man the most exquisite gift he can ever receive, the chance to experience not just pleasure, but profound meaning. But there's one final secret that ties all the others together. It's the mirror of totality, and it's the ultimate key to a man's deepest desire. Of all Jung's discoveries, there's one he considered the most powerful and the most dangerous. It's the idea that the deepest longing in every human being, including every man, is to be seen in totality, not just for the parts that are easy to love, but for the entire truth of who he is. Jung called the journey toward this wholeness individuation, the process of integrating every fragment of ourselves, light and dark, strong and vulnerable, known and unknown. When a woman becomes what I call the mirror of totality, she offers a man an experience he's rarely had in his entire life. The feeling of being fully seen, fully accepted, and fully loved. This goes far beyond sexual tricks or techniques. It's about cultivating the capacity to look at a man and see not just who he is today, but the entire universe of who he could become. Imagine listening to a man's stories, not just hearing the facts, but sensing the dreams he hasn't dared to speak. Imagine noticing the fear behind his bravado, or the tenderness behind his stoic silence. When you reflect this totality back to him, without judgment, without trying to change him, something extraordinary happens. Desire becomes devotion. He begins to feel that you're not just a partner, but the mirror in which he glimpses his own soul. I'll share one final story. Isabel, 61, came to me after a painful divorce. She was terrified she'd never find love again. She met a man but felt afraid to show him her own wounds and shadows. As we worked together, she learned to embrace her entire self, her light, her darkness, her sensuality, her fear. Slowly, she began to do the same with him. She listened deeply. She didn't flinch when he shared his insecurities. She saw his brilliance, but also his flaws, and loved him for all of it. 3 years later, he still looks at her with eyes shining with wonder. He told her, "You're the only woman who's ever made me feel like all of me is welcome. I've never desired anyone the way I desire you." When you become the mirror of totality, you're no longer just a lover. You're a catalyst for a man's evolution. And that, my friend, is the secret to creating not just desire, but a bond so profound that it can withstand time, distance, and every test life throws your way. But how do you bring all of these secrets together into your life? That's what we're going to talk about next. So now you know the 6 secrets Carl Jung uncovered, secrets hidden in the depths of the male psyche. Secrets powerful enough to awaken a man's deepest sexual desire for you. First, the connection with the shadow, where you become the sanctuary for his hidden self. Second, the dance with the anima, where you embody the feminine essence he's been seeking without even knowing it. Third, the alchemy of contrast, where you reveal the countless facets of your true self, keeping him in a state of magnetic fascination. Fourth, resonance with the inner hero, where you see and honor the man he longs to be, awakening devotion along with desire. Fifth, becoming a portal to the transcendent, where your presence becomes a doorway to something sacred and unforgettable. And finally, the mirror of totality, where you reflect his entire being back to him, creating a connection so profound it transcends mere attraction. But let me remind you of something crucial. This is not about manipulation. It's not about pretending or performing. This is about becoming deeply connected to yourself first, to your own shadows, your own feminine essence, your own sacred energy. It's about showing up as the most authentic, integrated version of who you are. Because the truth is, these secrets are not just keys to a man's desire. They're pathways to your own power, confidence, and radiant magnetism. When you do this inner work, you don't just become the woman a man desires. You become the woman who changes the way he sees the entire world. So I'll ask you the question I began with. Are you ready to become the woman who ignites a man's deepest desire? Not just for your body, but for your soul, your mind, your entire being? If this message resonated with you, I want you to do two things. First, share this video with every woman you know who deserves to step into her true power. And second, subscribe and leave me a comment below telling me which of these secrets spoke to you the most. Because the world needs more women who know how to love and be loved at the deepest levels of the human soul. Your journey is just beginning, and I can't wait to see the woman you're about to become.